We have a show for you. It's really filled today. First of all, I'll teach you the word coccidioidiomycosis. Right? You got your notepad out. You're going to learn about this. Valley fever is what it is, fungal infection. Dr. V is with us. She came to us Skype. 7 essential things you need to know about cancer, how to prevent it, because she got it, okay? Then Dr. Greg Emerson is here from Brisbane, Australia. Disconnect Restoration. What is that? He's a good teacher, and he's going to teach you about that. I want to teach you a little bit about the difference between genetics and epigenetics. Really important. Are you the hand you're dealt, or can you change that? And finally, Marty Whittakin, CCN, Certified Clinical Nutritionist, is going to join us and teach us which breast imaging method does she do and which does she think is best. All that on today's Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Did you ever see on TV a couple of years ago, they had, world news reporting that in Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona, just the sand, these huge dust storms went all the way up, 10,000 feet. Folks, there's a problem. I mean, they report it, and the reporters don't know, and the doctors don't know, that there is a problem with fungus growing in the soil, in the sand, in those areas, right? Those dry, temperate areas. California, Arizona mostly, okay? So let's give it a name. It's called San Joaquin Valley fever, shortened to valley fever. It's actually the technical name, go with me here, see if you can pronounce this, coccidioidiomycosis, okay? That's caused by a fungus that I'll talk about in just a minute. I'll name the fungus. It's an airborne fungal infection that people living in or flying over, primarily California and Arizona, inhale. If not treated, it spreads to the bones and destroys them. Gee, I wonder what osteoporosis. I wonder what osteopenia. I wonder why mom slipped in the shower. I wonder as we age why these bones are deteriorating. Oh, well, it's not enough calcium in your diet. Really? Have you ever flown over? I mean, it's amazing, these recirculating thermostats on airplanes. You're breathing what's underneath you, So arthritis, osteoporosis, is it cancer? The mold is called Coccidioides immitis. This fungus can enter the bloodstream and travel through the body. Skin lesions are common. Bone pain may also occur as a result of its spread. Folks, the take-home message here is, if you're having these weird skin, I worked in dermatology for 5 years, saw a lot of weird skin reactions, and people didn't know, and candidly, the doctors I worked with didn't know this either. How many people are going to the doctor today because of bone pain? Oh no, doc, I don't think it's arthritis. It's just my bones hurt. I hurt to the bone. Have you been to Arizona, California? Was there a wind? I'm just saying, I think we're hyperdiagnosing arthritis, osteopenia, osteoporosis, and even cancer when fungus may be at the root cause, okay? I hope I'm stimulating some of your brains there. This is often misdiagnosed. Orthopedic surgeons and radiologists are asked to keep in mind that chronic fungal infections can mimic bone growths by imaging. Oh my gosh. So this bone problem is so bad, you go to a well-respected doctor, he takes a MRI scan on you or CT scan, he says, look at that lump on your bone, I think you have cancer. I want to refer you to my friend. He's a boneologist. He's going to take care of you. But doc, I've been in Arizona, spent a lot of time in Tucson playing golf. San Joaquin Valley fever, coccidioidiomycosis, range of cases. Look at this, 60% of those exposed are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms. 30% have from mild to moderate symptoms. 5 to 10% are complications. Less than 1% are fatal. Since 1990, 3,000 deaths have occurred. You know what's important here, folks? It's important that we understand the etiology of our health problems. You know your history better than any physician in the country. Put it together. When did this start? Gee, Doug, it was within a year of traveling to California. Went out to the desert there, Palm Desert. Was it windy? Could you have inhaled this fungus and brought it back with you? And it's been simmering in your body for 30 years and bang, it's now out of control. That's the way I want you to start thinking. You can figure these things out. Often your doctor can't. You know, I read an article in the paper the other, oh, by the by, joining me is my good new buddy, Dr. V. And she and I have been on several times. Folks, you're going to do what we did at this meeting. You're going to fall in love with her. She is a bioenergetic chiropractor, okay? What this woman knows, I wish all MDs knew. She ended up with breast cancer. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put her back together again. So she found her way out of this hole, right, with a huge shovel. She actually had 7 shovels. And we're going to talk a little bit about those today. One of the shovels was all of this dirt, all of this mold, all of this electricity, all of these electromagnetic. We need to talk about a little bit about our toxic environment, because newspapers are saying, wow, we're getting 6,000 new chemicals a month in our environment. Thank you, Dr. V, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Doug. Yes, essential number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. Now, we can't live in a bubble. We know that there's toxins all around us, but there's specific things that you can be aware of and start at a very simple level. So look at your environment. You can control the pesticides, the herbicides that you put in your yard, in your home. The average householder has over 1,000 toxic chemicals in their home alone. So start replacing those things, one by one. And look at what you're putting on your skin, because everything that you put on your skin is being absorbed into the body. And then electropollution, you mentioned. Electropollution is the most serious toxin on the planet, in my opinion, other than mold, because it affects us 24/7. I mean, the 5G now is getting even worse. And we know beyond the shadow of a doubt, according to the bioinitiativereport.org, that it causes cancer, it causes immune deficiency, sleep problems, insomnia, DNA problems, tumors, leukemia. I mean, the list goes on, and we're blanketed with it.
So, Dr. V, what about having Wi-Fi in here in our homes? This was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. Is this leading to degradation of some physical process in us?
Absolutely. Just real briefly, there's some 9th graders in Sweden who did an experiment with sprouting seeds. They put one plate in a room with Wi-Fi. They put another plate away from all Wi-Fi. Guess what happens? The one with the Wi-Fi, the seeds died, and the other one thrived. Wow. So that gives you an idea if we're exposing ourselves all the time. But you can do things to protect yourself. You can hardwire your computer when you're working at home. There's all kinds of technology now that you can wear to protect your bioenergetic field. So there's solutions. You just have to know about them and apply them.
Do you know Dr. Lee Cowden?
I do.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he knows you too. He spoke highly of you the other day. I went into his hotel room to give him my little thumb drive, and we were going to do a PowerPoint together. And I said, Lee, what's going on in here? It looks like a bomb went off. And he goes, no. When I walk into a hotel room, I unplug everything. What about the refrigerator? Oh, no, you got to make sure there's no ice maker in it. But you unplug the refrigerator, you unplug the clock, you unplug everything. Otherwise, you're living in a toxic chemical milieu, an electrical and a chemical environment. So that was number 2. Quickly, in the next 40 seconds, go over your 7 essentials that you need to know to prevent. And if you have a disease, you need to know it too. What are they?
Number 1 is to let food be your medicine. Number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. Number 3 is to balance your energy, because we are energetic beings. So chiropractic, sleep, hormones, all of that. Number 4 is to heal the emotional wounds. 5 is biological dentistry. 6 is to repair your body with therapeutic plants and herbs with natural evidence-based medicine. And 7 is keeping a pulse on your health through early detection, like thermography and specific blood work that will detect cancer when it's the size of a pinhead, instead of waiting till it's a lump or a bump that's visible on a scan.
So I'm speechless. Someone finally made me speechless. She knows it all. Thank you, Dr. V, for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, the show's only half over, right? How are you liking it so far? Dr. Greg Emerson, he's going to be talking about disconnect, restoration. Then I'm going to teach you about DNA, right? Epigenetics versus genetics. And then Marty Whittakin, breast imaging. Don't go away. Here we go.
Disconnection restoration. What happens to a plant if we take it out of the ground and protect it from the sun with a tarp? It will die. We have done the same to ourselves with the invention of 1. Shoes which disconnected us from the Earth's electrons. 2. Sunscreen which disconnected us from the ultraviolet B light that helps us produce vitamin D. And 3. Sunglasses which disconnect our eyes and neurological systems from the healing potential of red and purple light. I make sure that I spend as much as possible of any day with my bare feet on the ground. I get out in the sun every day. I rarely use sunglasses unless conditions are extreme. I never use commercial sunscreen and only use a small amount of a zinc-based one for my face to avoid getting sunburnt. I use a far infrared sauna and infrared lights several times per week. Vitamin D is free. Infrared light is free. Electrons for our mitochondria are free. All are incredibly healing and energizing. We have been disconnected from all of them. It's time to change that. This is Dr. Greg Emerson with Doug Kaufman at Know the Cause Studios.
You know, through the years, I've tried to teach you that gene mutation, genetic mutation, takes place because of many poisons, right? Arsenic will really blow out a DNA strand, but so will mycotoxins. And our exposure to arsenic is kind of limited. Some say otherwise, but it's kind of limited. There's a little bit in your tap water, et cetera. But our exposure to mycotoxins is really great. So in understanding this DNA, you know, we got this double helix strand that makes up our chromosomes. You know, this is our DNA or our genetic structure. You live and will die with the genes. But epigenetics says you can change the hand that was dealt to you. We've been told forever, folks, that your mom and dad gave you diabetes. Remember 20, 30 years ago, if you're a girl and had breast cancer, well, your mom had it. No, she didn't. Well, her mom had it. No, she didn't. Well, her mom had it. Try to sell you based on genetics. Of course, we now know only a couple % of breast cancer has a genetic factor in it, okay? Epigenetics, I gotta tell you, it plays a huge role. So let me teach you a little bit about a word called deoxyribonucleic acid. Remember that from 8th, 9th grade? Okay. According to Wikipedia, deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, it's a molecule that carries all the genetic instructions for our growth, our development, our functioning, and our reproduction of all, not only me, all living organisms, okay? Most consist of 2 strands coiled around each other to form what's called a double helix, okay? Genes, then, are segments of our DNA. Genes are segments of that double helix strand, okay? So genetics is an understanding, we thought, of what we're going to become because our parents became that, right? Parents drank too much alcohol, we're going to drink too much alcohol. Mom had breast cancer, you're going to have breast cancer. And as we unravel this, folks, no harm, no foul against scientists and doctors. We didn't know this until recently, that there was an entirely different field. And this field is what I figured out many years ago. I remember going to mom and dad's home very often after I got back from Vietnam. And I really studied. Dad had a lot of health problems. And I really studied Dad. And I remember thinking, gosh, am I going to have those same health problems? Am I going to end up with a pacemaker? Am I going to end up with prostate problems? Am I going to end up with heart problems, et cetera? And then I thought, I wonder if I can change. And so I did. I'm a guy who enjoys working out. I eat differently than my dad ever ate. I don't smoke cigarettes, don't drink alcohol, et cetera. And enter the world 10, 12 years ago, this word epigenetics. Epi means on or upon in medical terms. So here we go. Epigenetics. Anything that can change a cell, an organ, or a person without directly affecting its DNA. Hey, I'm all for that. Exercise, diet, and changing your lifestyle can alter the DNA hand that you thought you were dealt. It's so common to go to a doctor today, and even today, I mean, even with epigenetics telling us otherwise, for the doctor to say, well, of course you have heart disease, your dad had it. Or have you ever filled out the forms? 8,500 pages of them waiting to see a new doctor. You know, and they ask, what diseases did your mom and dad have? If I went to a doctor, I'd probably leave that blank. We're talking about me. Okay, my mom and dad have passed, they're gone. Well, I need to know what they died of to see if you have a predisposition to that. Okay, I don't. Doctor, do you understand epigenetics, or are we just going to talk about genetics? That's probably the way the conversation would go with me, which is probably why no doctor would take me in. Finally, I want you to see this, and this is the whole reason that I'm bringing you this 5-minute segment. Look at this. This is a prominent hospital. Doctors at Brigham and Women's Hospital are offering new parents a landmark, the most exciting thing I've ever seen, scan that screens newborn babies for around 1,800 medical conditions. The trial allows, I love the word trial, the trial allows newborns to be tested before showing any symptoms of a disease. Most parents are declining the controversial test. Duh. I would never in a million years subject my child to this. Laboratory tests aren't really as accurate as we think. What are they going to do with this information? You know darn well Big Pharma loves to get a child with 4 preconceived diseases, right? Oh, he's going to have asthma, he's going to have migraines, he's going to be depressed. Let's start him on the medicines right now. That's where I believe this is going, folks. All I'm telling you is I'm not dictating what you should do. I'm trying to teach you what's out there on the market right now, and then say, please be prudent medical consumers, especially when it's your children involved. Friends, a dear buddy of mine who I get to listen to every Saturday morning in my car driving around Dallas, Marty Whittakin, is a certified clinical nutritionist. You've met her. You know, you love her. She's published a lot. Love her radio show. Today I want to teach men and women, but particularly women, about the difference between mammography and thermography. Marty, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is an important distinction because we're just browbeating women, especially in October, to get a mammogram, even though we know that the radiation that mammograms use itself causes cancer. Mm-hmm. I worry about it because they overdiagnose, they spot some little something that isn't cancer, and a woman gets the full boat of treatment and suffers for years afterwards because of the screening kind of gone awry.
It's not exclusive to breast. Men are getting a PSA, a digital rectal exam, being hyper-diagnosed, this new Gleason. I'm just, okay, so what is a woman's choice? Instead of a mammography, this thermography can help?
Thermography measures the difference between temperatures. And so a picture will show green and yellow and then red where there is some kind of inflammation, something out of the ordinary. Chiropractors use it, for example, to diagnose a problem in the spine. There's another kind of thermography that it uses an instrument. It doesn't make a picture, it makes a digital printout, but it measures the difference in the body's reaction to temperature everywhere. It measures teeth, it measures the thyroid, the liver, everything, and including the breast tissue. So it's something that men and women both can take advantage of because it finds problems when there's still just imbalances. You don't have to wait until they turn into a diagnosable disease.
And I'm sorry about the pouring. We are in, it hasn't been like this in probably 15 years out here in Dallas, but we are getting hammered. And we have a riser on the roof filled with foam to keep the noise down, and yet still, this is so important, Marty. Empowering women and men, the majority of our audience is female, to understand that the road forks. Your doctor wants you to get a mammogram. You might want a thermogram. Now, how can you get more information? You don't do thermograms.
No, I don't sell anything except information. Right. In the Dallas area, the Thermography Center of Dallas is a good place. They will also point you in the direction if you're in Austin or Houston or Pittsburgh or somewhere else. You can Google thermography, find the 2 different types, and if possible, get the kind that's the whole body type, because you get early warning of things that are going to go wrong so that you could fix them before they do.
Okay, for more information on what Marty does, who Marty is, etc., healthybynatureshow.com. but also natural alternatives to all of these acid blockers, the probiotic cure, fat-free folly. What is that, macadamia nut?
Yeah.
And coconut and so forth. And the Diverse Health University. You've been busy. You have been busy. One thing, my wife called me a couple of weeks ago and said, turn on the radio at home. Do we have a radio at home? We turn it on a phone. She was listening to your show. You were interviewing a doctor who was real big in the fat field. And he was just blowing her mind with what we thought 20 years ago. Stay away from avocados, it's going to kill you. And the right information that he was dispensing. Thank you for all you do. Now, you guys know there's a difference between mammography and thermography. The road forks. Thank you, Marty. Okay, which was your favorite segment? I did a couple of them. I kind of like that DNA testing. Isn't that fascinating that we can direct our genes? You know, watching mom and dad, their lifestyle, and then saying, okay, I don't want to drink alcohol, I don't want to smoke cigarettes, I don't want to eat these foods, and see how you turn out. Epigenetics. Thank you, Dr. V, for coming in and teaching us. When you have cancer, you become a very good teacher on how to avoid cancer. Marty Whittakin, breast imaging. You have a choice. You know, it isn't necessarily go get a mammogram. And then thank you, Greg Emerson. This was something brand new to me, but I really love the way he delivers. Folks, this is a show that's a different kind of show. Did you know I go live to answer your questions every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. on our Facebook, Know the Cause Facebook. And I'll answer your questions and try and help you along as far as I can. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for telling your friends about Know the Cause. I'll see you next time. God bless.